Hello there. So we have a new partygate statement from the Met Police. This could get very juicy indeed. Now, many people will say that we've all had enough of these COVID rule breach investigations and that it's time to move on. But the people saying that are generally those who did not rest until they'd chased Boris Johnson out and are still trying to bury his political career now, as well as those of his most ardent supporters, Nadine Dorries, Zach Goldsmith, Mark Jenkinson, Michael Fabricant, Brendan Clark-Smith, Jacob Rees-Mogg, Andrea Jenkins and Priti Patel. Those 8 Boris supporters, if you remember, who were named by the Privileges Committee, where the MPs among them will be facing a debate and vote on their political futures in the House of Commons next Monday. But the Met Police has other ideas. It doesn't believe it should all be conveniently forgotten. And I say yes, let's play fair. In fact, it might help clear a few hypocrites and party political gamesters out of the system. Those who spend more time knifing each other in the back rather than working to make the country a better and safer place for us to live in. And there are a lot of those types lurking within the rat holes of Westminster. If the police are meant to act fairly, independently and in an unbiased manner, then they must be seen to do so. After all, they do have a fair degree of reputational damage to repair. So after the video of a Tory event in their Matthew Parker Street HQ in December 2020 came to light, as well as information on a birthday bash in Westminster on the 8th of December, the Met Police decided to take another gander at all of this and issued a statement. The Met and Thames Valley Police have assessed new material in relation to potential breaches of COVID regulations in 2020 and 2021. The Met will be opening one investigation and reopening a previous investigation, said the statement. And they went on to say that they would only investigate these breaches in retrospect when there is evidence of a serious and flagrant breach. And the Met has criteria for doing this, and the first of those is, it is proportionate and there is evidence that those involved knew or ought to have known that what they were doing was an offence. Sounds ominous. And the other 2 criteria are, not investigating would significantly undermine the legitimacy of the law, and there is little ambiguity around the absence of a reasonable defence. Sounds quite promising for the forces of law and order, doesn't it? So what will they be investigating? Well, they're reopening the investigation into the Matthew Parker Street so-called Jingle and Mingle event. That's the story the Mirror broke, all because the jaw-dropping footage showed Conservative Party staff drinking, dancing and laughing at COVID rules during a jingle and mingle party in December 2020, when we saw some very dodgy dancing and claims they were only bending the rules. But the Met is also opening a new inquiry into the event on the 8th of December in Westminster. This is the alleged birthday party in the Deputy Speaker's parliamentary office for Tory peer Baroness Jenkin, at which it is reported Tory MP Virginia Crosby and Tory MP and the Deputy Chair of the committee that forced Boris Johnson to resign over Partygate, Bernard Jenkin, who is also the husband of Baroness Jenkin, as well as Eleanor Lang, the Deputy Speaker. But I don't see mention of any investigation thus far into the Theresa May do. Do you remember that one? And Guido Fawkes, who had a hand in much of the unearthing of these alleged crimes, also published a tweet saying, "Did you attend a lockdown drinks party in Rosie Winterton's parliamentary office, Chris Bryant?" What is he inferring about Chris Bryant? The Labour MP who made a statement in the House of Commons saying that Nigel Farage took $500,000 in Kremlin money in a single year. Will something be breaking about that, I now wonder? And the Met also said they do not have enough information to pursue any further investigations into alleged breaches in Downing Street or Chequers, even after the Cabinet Office sent the then PM's diaries to them. Boris off the hook for further breaches then. The anti-Brexiteer lefties won't like that one bit. Now this is all about fairness and upholding the law, so the Met is right to investigate these alleged breaches of the COVID regulations, especially as at least one of them was potentially involved in the hypocritical hounding of another MP, Boris Johnson. And if any of them are found to have breached the rules, then they should be put in front of the Privileges Committee themselves and, very importantly, be forced to respond under exactly the same criteria as Boris Johnson faced, that of, they must have known whether or not there's any hard evidence. And also that a fixed penalty notice is an admission of guilt, which in reality it is not, but the committee deemed it as such for their purposes in order to dispatch with Boris. What's good for the goose is good for the gander, as they say. Or will we see a sudden Privileges Committee reshuffle and a reframing of the rules? If we are to see these political gotcha kangaroo court style games in Westminster, then those who engage in them should expect to be hoisted by their own petard. Fairness is important, and just because you dislike someone's politics should not mean that you want to see them unfairly treated. Unless you're on the hard left, of course, they always seem to welcome the unfair treatment of their opponents. In fact, it appears to me that they go out of their way to engineer it, in the ignorant belief that the same could never befall them. As far as I'm concerned, those who judge others should be judged by their own yardstick. Otherwise, it is obviously not a fair system. That is why we have tried over the centuries to set up an objective system where the rules are applied and enforced fairly and consistently. And that is something I think that some politicians are failing to grasp, as well as those who bay for blood. They think that their political requirements must be met at all cost in financial and constitutional terms, and that true democracy can go hang. These are the people we need to see forced out of Westminster, all of those that point fingers at others when they do exactly the same thing themselves, those that work tirelessly in shadowy rooms to try and subvert the will of the people. Because those people, by doing what they do, are lying to the people and to the Parliament every single day. We also need to clear out those who use their position for self-enrichment. Those sorts of politicians do not work for the people. But it's no good changing the parliamentary rules to force it. These types always find a way around those. No, it's up to us, the voters, to look more carefully at our choices come election time and vote for real change.